Since I work in probate real estate, a very common question for people to ask me is, what is probate? It's an important topic, and if you don't have all of the details, please stay tuned and I'd love to share it with you. First, let me just say that I'm not an attorney and I'm not a tax professional. This is not legal or tax advice. I'm just sharing what I've learned along the way, and I hope that you find it helpful. But always consult a professional attorney or a professional tax consultant. So simply put, probate is a court process that gets involved when somebody passes away and their estate needs to be settled. It's settling the estate. If they have assets in excess of a certain dollar amount, each state has their own set dollar amount. In California, that number is $184,500. So if you have assets in your estate over $184,500 in California, and those assets are not held in a trust, then you will need to go through probate, or your heirs will need to go through probate. This doesn't count things like life insurance policies or bank accounts that have a beneficiary on death assignment. Those don't have to go through probate because it's an asset that has a beneficiary on death attached to it. So there's no court process that needs to be gone through. But for assets, other assets, such as real estate, vehicles, personal property, other types of accounts, you will need to go through the probate process. And check in your state for the small estate amount. It's typically called a small estate affidavit that you would sign if you're underneath that limit. So what does probate look like? It all happens in court, and it happens in the county in which the person who passed away lived at the time that they died, or it happens in the county where the property is located. So this is significant because perhaps you had a parent or a grandparent pass away and you find yourself the executor of their estate. You're going through probate and they live in a different state. They were in a different county, or the property is in a different area. So you're going to need to be aware of that. And probate looks different from county to county. For example, in Los Angeles County, which is right next door to where I am in Ventura County, there are several probate judges and several probate courtrooms at the courthouse going 5 days a week. But in Ventura County, where I am, we have lower population and just much fewer probates that happen, about 30 a month here. Here we have one probate judge, and he holds court for probate on Thursdays only. And he also handles the conservatorships as well, which is very common for probate judges to do that. But just be aware that wherever the person passed away or wherever the asset or the real estate is held, that's the county where the probate is going to need to happen. So what is next? What else is involved in probate? Well, we have a long list today, so bear with me, but I hope that you find this really helpful. First of all, the judge is going to authenticate the will. So if, let's say you're the petitioner, let's say your parent passed away and you petition the court to open up probate, whether you do it alone or with an attorney, and you bring a will forward, the judge is going to decide whether or not that will is valid. So there is a legal process for that. The judge is also going to appoint the executor or the personal representative. And that will have to do, if there is a will, and the will says, I want this person to execute my will, then if Johnny was named in the will as the executor, then Johnny will get that job. If it's a personal representative that's appointed by the court, it's because there was nobody named in the will, or maybe there was no will, and the judge then decides who that's going to be. Post bond. It's possible, depending on the situation, that a personal representative might be required to post bond, which basically means to purchase an insurance policy in case they should have intentionally or unintentionally take some action that is not in the best interest of the estate. So let's say that there are 4 siblings. One of the siblings is the executor of the estate or the personal representative. The court is going to make sure that that personal representative is acting in the best interest of the estate, so that when the assets are sold or dealt with, that the most value possible is gotten from them, so that the beneficiaries get the most benefit possible from them. So that's why a bond might be required in case mistakes are made. But if you have a good probate attorney, it's not uncommon for bond to be waived. Another thing that needs to be done is to search for and notify the heirs. That's a requirement. Newspaper publication. Unfortunately, probate is a public process, and that's one reason why you would like to avoid it. And it can be avoided with the trust, and we can talk about that in other videos. But for now, know that part of the process is newspaper publication. And this is just one of the things that causes probate to kind of drag on. It takes a long time because there's all these little requirements and steps that need to happen. Newspaper publication is one of them. Inventory of assets and debts. A list is going to need to be put together of all of the assets of the decedent or the person who passed away. Bank accounts, vehicles, real estate, all of the real estate. Maybe they owned empty land somewhere. So all of the assets are going to need to be listed, and then all of the outstanding debts need to also be listed. Outstanding utility bills, the monthly things that go on, that needs to be accounted for. If there's a piece of property and there's homeowners insurance, you're going to need to make a list of that, plus credit card bills, plus. All of those things need to be listed out. And there's more, but wait, there's more. We also need to determine the value of real estate at the time of death. So that would be the market value of the property when the person died. I do not recommend this, but if for some reason probate's not filed right away, if for some reason probate gets put off and doesn't get filed for years after a person dies, the market value of the home, the market value of the real estate at the time the person died still needs to be ascertained. I'm still working on a probate case with a probate attorney here in Ventura, where the decedent passed away 13 years before probate was filed. So one of the things that I did was to go back through the records of sold homes that were comparable to that home in that neighborhood from 13 years ago to get the value. That's a whole nother video that we'll talk about another time. So getting that market value at the time of death. Also notifying creditors. Final taxes, state and federal taxes need to be filed for the decedent to basically close them out financially, and paying all of the creditors and a final accounting. Yes, people who the decedent owed money to, including taxes and the probate attorney and anything else you can think of, that all gets paid before what's left. And finally, the last thing is that what's left gets distributed to the beneficiaries. I went through that list really fast. There's a lot more to say about each one of those bullet points. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments or reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. I would be happy to get back to you. I do try to check those myself and get back to people as quickly as possible. And if you'd like, I can do a video about that as well. So if you found value in this, please subscribe to the channel. Please give this video a like, and I'll see